Welcome back to Hope for Addictions podcast, Abounding Hope. We are wanting to equip the local church, encourage people in the church to be able to walk alongside and care for people that are struggling with addiction or other kinds of suffering in their lives. And we want you to be able to do that through a biblical lens. So that's what this podcast is about. And so picking up from our last podcast, we're talking with Steve and Marian Tong, who have been my good friends and small group leaders for over 20 years. And they are the ones who walked with me and my family through the good times and the bad times. And so we've just been reflecting on this journey together. And so as we jump back in with part 2 of this, I think it would be good for us to just talk about how God has grown you as you have walked through all of these things with our family, things that you didn't expect, things that you didn't know how to handle, just all of the things. So just what has God done in you and how has he changed you?
Yeah, I think it's been a process, Liz, to trust him in a greater way. Like when you see him work, and then it's like the next time it's like, oh, he's there again, and he's there again. And so I think we've grown as a couple for sure, walking through this with you. And it's been over a couple decades now, so it was a while back. But I think definitely like leaning into each other and more time in talking and praying and seeking wisdom, because we don't know what to do. But the Lord has those answers for us. And it's just stepping in and he provides the next step. We don't lean on our own understanding, but in all of our ways we acknowledge him, and he leads that path for us. He establishes those steps. And so I'd say we've grown in that for sure.
I remember many coffees or meetings in cars and store parking lots or where you're in the middle of the mess and I'm listening to you and I have no idea what to say or how to encourage you. And even in that, I don't even know what I would say. I don't remember a lot of times, or if you even remember what I would say, but I think it was more the being there that was important, and the prayers, because God knows what you need, trusting in him, not in what, like I don't have to have the answers, but I can be there to help you and walk with you. And if I don't know, we know lots of people like Steve and Dre and others who can help us. But I think it was the more often I would meet you, my faith knowing that the Lord was going to meet us one way or another. He was always faithful to do that.
Well, from my perspective, how I've seen, so one thing with you, Marian, is along the way, I would always call you, and you would direct me back to the hope I have in Christ every time. And so over time, I didn't call you every time, but I would think, what would Marian say? Because it was always what God would say. And then eventually it got to, well, what does God say? So it was this process, because in those moments of crisis and chaos, I didn't even know where to go in the Bible. I didn't even know. I knew the Lord was my hope, but I didn't know how exactly or where to look in Scripture. And so you always brought me there. And then you instilled that habit in me of knowing what those answers were. And then I would go there, and then I went straight to the Lord. So there was, you taught me how to look to the Lord and how to bring in Scripture in a way that brought hope in the middle of all of those things. And Steve, one of the things I have seen you change in is that pastoral heart of walking with people and just the gentleness and compassion that God has just built in you over these years. And I think one of the encouragements for the church too is that the church changes as you care for people, because I know our church today is much more equipped to care for people like my family than they were back then. There's a lot more wisdom and knowledge now of the practicals and the situations, and so God still used all of that, but the church is even more equipped now, and there's a comfort in some ways that our church has a lot more messy people, because we are able to more confidently care for them, and it's beautiful because then we get to see God working in people's lives. We see baptisms of people who were hopeless and there was no option for them. And yet here they are in the church being cared for, having people that are just normal church people walking alongside. And that helps the church. It encourages the church. And so I would say those are some standouts for me of ways that you guys made a difference, but also God changed you. And I think, Marian, you were so willing to be there in hard things. And there was one time that was my lowest moment where my sin, and it's easy to overlook your own sin when things are so chaotic and the focus is on the other person. But there was a moment where my sin was so front and center, and my heart was revealed in such a devastating way that I could barely stand. And my first call was, I need you. And you guys immediately came. And it was the end of May. It was hot. And we were sitting in the car just sweating as I'm sobbing. And those were life-changing moments for me as well. And I think just you didn't judge me for the most horrible, murderous thought that was in my heart in that moment. And so I think that just that compassion and that willingness of just listening, but Jesus is enough for that too. His blood covers that too. And that encouragement was so life-giving for me.
Yeah, Liz, I think in those situations, as we step into something we don't know, and we see just the truth of there's sin there, but yet we're all sinners. And I think it kind of helps us not to judge. It's like we love Liz. Liz is a sinner, but we love Liz. And so then sin doesn't seem so surprising. It doesn't seem so shocking. We're sinners, but Christ came for us. And the beauty of that, it just makes that even more. And I think Marian's definitely grown in a way of just, okay, that we're sinners, and she says that a lot. And so I think it's not this, it takes your breath away kind of thing. It's like, no, this is sin. We sin. It's a different sin. It may not be the same sin that we deal with, but it's sin. And okay, let's point this person to the Savior, right? Who died for that. And sin becomes, it's ugly, but it doesn't become as shocking. And you're not as thrown by it. And so I think that's helped too.
Yeah, well, and I can't say that we didn't have some of those thoughts ourselves. When you watch people you love get hurt over and over and over again, like we're needing to forgive and not take offenses when we're watching your family hurt over and over and over again. And I think that's where the biggest thing that you taught me in all these 20 years was the love of Christ, in how you loved Rob always, still, that you forgave him every time. Your hope for change, your hope for God doing what he was doing. Like you didn't give up on him. even when you need to make hard decisions to protect your family and things, your heart has always been a deep love for him. And I just feel like that just displays the gospel in a way that still to this day, as you're tearing up, even on Sunday, you were crying because, but that to me was, and still is, that speaks so loud to my heart that you unconditionally loved him, and that God does that for us, right? Mm-hmm. Like we didn't deserve that love.
That's good.
But he sent his son for us, and you were the living proof. So thank you for that.
So what if we talk about some good times here? I'll take over for Liz's spot while she collects herself. We didn't want this to seem like life was just this drudgery. Life was very normal. Mm-hmm. The Becks were the family down the street. Rob was the dad, and Liz was the mom, and there was 2 kids, and very normal. There's things going on behind that, and we've talked about that. But we also had, there were funny things too. I remember I was shopping with Rob. We were at Safeway, and there's a family out there, and they have these puppies. And Rob walks out, and he goes, "I'm going to bring one home." And I'm like, "Dude, you should probably call Liz about that first." He didn't, of course. He scooped up this little puppy, which was super sweet. But he just brought the dog home, and that was Cracker. And then there was another time he was having issues with back pain, and we were having our small group. And we have couches and chairs, and everybody's sitting. And he asked if he could do the small group laying down on his back. And he wasn't sleeping. He wasn't asleep. He participated. But we had a small group with a dude laying on his back in our family room. He did that a number of times. I remember Rob would give the best bear hugs. He was just a loving man. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So there were these times that were dark, but there was normal life there too. Yeah. And like Marian said, we didn't see that at first. But we don't want to pick this picture of like some homeless dude or something. No, he was a dad. He was a husband. He was Rob. He was fun. He was a good-looking guy, very funny, very outgoing, very personable. And we had wonderful times. The Super Bowl parties that you guys used to throw. Still, we still talk about him, and Rob was in the midst of that, So
everybody couldn't wait to see if they got invited.
Yeah,
I know.
It was
it was a full house.
It was like the A-list.
It was very fun.
And the Tongs were always on the A-list.
Yes, of course you were.
But there were those times too, and times of joy and rejoicing, and in the midst of that. But isn't that life?
Yeah.
Isn't that what we all walk through? Mm-hmm. It's just Rob was going in a different direction, but we enjoyed times with you guys too. It wasn't your friends, your family, right?
We had a lot of laughter.
We did.
My kids are very funny.
They are.
Yep. Even to this day, there were so many things when they were young. They're funny. Mm-hmm. They're very funny. They have such great sense of humor, and we have laughed so much. And as a family, we continue to laugh, and we shared life with you guys, and we're such an important part of each other's lives. Like I feel like we kind of live together almost every day, and I kind of miss that. Like, but as we get older, we don't have little kids that keep us connected, and
right,
it's kind of true. I kind of miss those days of all of that. But that was. There were good times. Mm-hmm. There were really good times, and parties, and New Year's Eve with sparklers, and 4th of July with the fireworks.
Yep.
Well, and you guys were also reaching out to your neighborhood in the middle of all of this. Yeah. You were doing game nights and trying to share the gospel with all the kids in the neighborhood. You were very outward focused when you could have been very inward focused.
Right.
Yeah, we had those neighborhood kids were really special to us, and I know that's when I learned to not lock my door. Is when we lived in Queen Creek. I still don't lock my door to this day, except at night.
I was going to
So
say,
don't break it. But
this is a podcast.
it's like it's just an open door, right? This is a place for you to be welcomed.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good. Well, thank you, Steve, for saving the day with that recovery there. So were there particular scriptures or truth that anchored you during this time?
Wow, that's a good question. I don't know. I think of early on Psalm 46. God is our refuge, a very present help in trouble. And a guy came to preach that at our church early on, and that affected me. I would guess we would have applied that, but again, it's been some years, Liz.
Yes. Well, I think Marian did talk about it too, just that it's God's, right? It's not on me to fix.
Right.
It's the Lord's work. It's
Right.
His problem. I'm just here.
Right.
Well, we get to be a part of seeing him work in a way that, while we may not have chosen it, had we known,
Yeah.
we wouldn't trade it,
Yeah.
Right.
you know?
Right.
So after Rob and I got divorced in 2011, and then God started just doing this work in me about what would it look like to have the church care for people? How would we help other churches to do what our church has done? And as I kind of just started talking about this, what did you guys think as I was just kind of talking to a lot of people about it? I was talking to Rich and, just trying to figure out like, what would God have in all of this? I mean, what did you guys think about about this one more crazy thing that Liz has got going on?
I don't think it was, you had shared that thought for years prior, so I don't think I was surprised to hear you still have that in you. I think you were out of things were getting lighter for you, and you could see more clearly, and I think you wanted to help. You see how the church came alongside you and really supported you guys, and you wanted that for the other families that were in that situation. And so I felt like it was like this little seed, and we're kind of watching it start to sprout. And at that point, it was just the sprout talking. But I mean, now it's a full-grown plant.
It's a forest now.
Right.
Right.
I think there was a moment for me, because we knew this was your heart. And backing up a little bit, it shouldn't have been. When you walk through what you walk through, you should have gone the other way.
Yep.
But that was a work of the Lord giving you a heart. But I remember early on you getting up in front of the church, and Rich brought you up and gave you the microphone, and like, Liz just wants to share her heart with us. And you did. And I looked at Mary, and it's like, Liz has got it. This is our like Liz. She's like a director now, But like, you were speaking passionately. There was vision that you had that the Lord had given you. There was strength, and it's like, it was like your launching pad. And I think you were just explaining Hope for Addiction and what it was going to be at our church and the meetings and the annual fundraisers and different things. And it was like, God's done it. He's done this change in Liz's heart and just brought you up to another level. And you spoke well and with passion. And it was like, there she goes.
Well, that's all the work of the Lord. Because I remember our first fundraiser, and when I realized I had to speak, and I almost canceled the whole event because I didn't want to do it. I was like, what? I can't do this. I was like pacing my house, like so much anxiety. And so it's definitely been a work of the Lord.
Yeah.
Well, and we were sitting there watching you because we all serve behind the scenes, but I came in to sit because I wanted to hear you
Yeah.
speak and like in tears saying, oh, this is what God's been doing.
Yeah.
This is redeeming
Yes.
what was broken, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Steve, when you're talking about knowing that this is what God's called me to, because I should have gone the other way. I remember in one of the early recovery meetings, and I was leading, trying to figure out what this recovery meeting that's gospel centered would actually look like. And one of the questions that I asked the group was, how is the gospel like seen in your life? Like how does that look? And as people started to share, I was so struck by the gospel on display for me is I'm sitting in a group of addicts, people I should hate.
Yep.
And yet God has given me a heart of compassion for these people.
Yeah.
And that's how he is for me. Like I was his enemy.
Yep. Yep.
And he loved me and he sent his son for me. And I just was so overcome just sitting there and just being like, wow, God, only you could do this.
Yeah.
And I just was so overwhelmed and so grateful that God has done that work in me and that I don't have bitterness, that I have been given this amazing gift from God, and my passion is to share it with people who are the least, the broken, the ones that everybody else has given up on, and having the ability to bring hope in places that it's very dark.
Yeah, and I think it was also just a sign of his healing power in your life, that you had been healed, and he continues to heal.
Yes.
Right? It's a process. But like she's in a place where she wants to reach out to addicts, and she was married to an addict, and it ended really badly, and there was just like this, the Lord is healing Liz, the Lord is restoring Liz, the Lord is giving her his heart for these people. Jesus would have been right in the middle of the addicts. He wouldn't have walked away.
Yeah.
He would have been right in the middle of it. And he's putting you right in the middle of it. And you reflect his heart in that. So there's just a number of things as you started stepping into that space that it was like, wow, God's doing amazing work here. And yeah, it was really cool to see from our standpoint.
Yeah. All the lives that you've touched.
Yeah.
All the kids that you've adopted over the years, so to speak, not officially, but in your heart.
Well, in the early days when there's more and more people coming and I kept kicking people out of their pews. No, wait, that's my seat at church. And then they were blowing out all the seats and people were getting offended because we took their spot.
Right.
But I think that was like so cool because people started going, wow, God's working here. Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
It's an adjustment.
I know.
It really is. It's not like you just flip the switch. It's kind of like, ooh, things are changing here a little bit. And you guys were sitting in our area too.
I know.
So, I mean.
Well, that was my spot.
I know.
Right?
We
Right?
kind of.
I sat
It's
there.
our area, right?
Right.
I sat there for several years by myself, really.
Yeah.
And
but then you had your row.
And
It was
started
cool.
getting a lot more people.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good place for us to wrap this episode. And then in our part 3, we'll talk about just the things that happened after Hope for Addiction got started. Good times, some tragedy that happened, and how the church and you guys just have continued to walk alongside in some pretty significant ways. So thank you for joining us for part 2 of this episode. And if you have questions of things that you would like us to answer in future episodes, then just give us an email at aboundinghope@hopeforaddiction.com. And we will do our best to answer those questions in the coming weeks. And just so grateful that you are joining us. And I hope that you have been encouraged by this story of God's goodness to our family through our church and our dear friends. So join us next time.